A surge of tropical moisture could bring flooding rains to many areas. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo on this Monday afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, we'll talk about what's happening across our area on this Monday. I've got the rainfall forecast island by island over the next several days. And of course, we'll spend a lot of time talking about our surge of tropical moisture and the widespread potential flooding rains it's going to bring to many of you. Have a lot of new subscribers at Meteo Mundo. I want to thank you so much for finding us. Our mission is to deliver weather across the Caribbean and the Bahamas like in a way you've never seen before, and I hope you're getting something out of it. Of course, if you have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Love to hear from you guys. Just let me know where you're viewing, what the weather's been like. Some of you have been talking about how wet and stormy it's been, others how hot and dry. And while you're down there, do me a big favor and click that like button. Okay, let's get into what's happening right now across our area. We're going to start in the northwest Bahamas. We continue to see rounds of storms moving through this area. This area has been plagued with some very rough weather. Walker's Key, Grand Bahama in particular, other areas like Abaco, Eleuthera, New Providence, beginning to see some of those showers and storms work their way in. Again, you are looking at live lightning data on this Monday afternoon. These are very hot storms. They are extremely intense. For the most part, the nastiest parts of these storms have missed the northwest Bahamas, just kind of have been able to move in between the islands for the most part for today. I can show you the radar out of here. So I'm going to take the satellite data off, at least for right now, and you can see, again, look at that really nasty storm. It slipped into the north side of Eleuthera, but it also died back down. We did have a storm here recently on the eastern side of Grand Bahama. Now, listen, it was rowdy yesterday afternoon and evening in Grand Bahama. Many of you told me about that. Take a look at the hail video out of Grand Bahama yesterday. They had some golf ball sized hail in some areas across the island, and it was very numerous in nature. Sometimes you can have some big hail and there's not a lot of it. Other times you can have some good sized hail and there's plenty of that. And that's exactly what we saw out of Grand Bahama yesterday. So that's what it looks like as of yesterday. Let's get back over to what's happening again right now. And the storms are going to be a little bit more sporadic, but there still is an opportunity for these areas to get hit pretty hard again on this Monday afternoon. And some of that is going to drift off even farther off towards the south. So still have to contend with the opportunity for some nastier storms here through the Bahamas the remainder of this Monday. I'll have more on that coming up. Let's get into what's happening in Jamaica right now. And as I do so, I'm going to throw the temperatures on as well. And again, right now, things are relatively quiet across the island. We're seeing a couple of showers and storms develop. We had one a little bit earlier this afternoon right over Montego Bay. Notice the temperature drop there. Kingston's unfortunately not reporting a temperature, but we're looking at mainly 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That's around 32 degrees Celsius. It's pretty steamy across the island. Same situation for our friends right now in portions of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Again, the opportunity for a few storms to be coming in. We don't really need any more rain at this point in time, right? Because we know what's on the way. Temperatures upper 80s, lower 90s, again around 30 degrees Celsius or higher in most spots. Once again, we continue to see a few storms develop over Puerto Rico. I feel like I say that all the time. It has been more isolated in nature today, mainly confined to the northeast sides of the island. Again, you can see on the live enhanced satellite imagery and our lightning, we do have a few storms developing here on this late Monday afternoon, right over Isabela and Quebradilas. I hope I said that correctly. I'm trying to learn all of the names across the islands. I think I'm doing a pretty good job, but every so often I'll catch one I haven't seen before. But we can see those storms again moving east towards San Juan and down towards Ponce. Right now we're dry with temperatures right around 90 degrees. It's been a relatively quiet forecast, at least at this point in time, for our friends in the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands. Still could see the opportunity here for a couple of showers to develop as we go through the afternoon hours. Again, once again, the Charlotte-Amalie site is not correctly reporting the temperature as you would imagine, but we're mainly in the upper 80s there, which again is right around 30 degrees Celsius. It really hasn't been a bad day in the northern side of the Leeward Islands, the Lesser Antilles. Our friends in Anguilla, not bad, 86 for the daytime high. Again, a few isolated showers there. The isolated rain has been a little bit more prominent to get a couple of showers for Guadalupe and Dominica South. Not a ton, but again, just enough moisture coming into this area where scattered showers are bound. If you don't catch the rain, your temperatures are still going to be well into the 90s. Again, the lower 30 degrees Celsius mark. Still a blow up of some moisture over Trinidad and Tobago. Unfortunately for my friends there, we're starting to see kind of the best moisture energy beginning to move out of this area. So unfortunately, we might actually see the rain chance here lower just a little bit, but still there is some moisture off the mainland to provide a couple of showers in that area. Over towards the ABC Islands, right now we're high and dry, but again, rain more than likely on the way a little bit later in the week as that moisture surge comes in, and then across portions of the Central America area on over towards Belize, where again, it's another hot day. San Ignacio, over 100 for the daytime high. Generally dry conditions. The few showers we've had have basically gone by the wayside. It's extremely hot across the Yucatan as well. There has been some record-breaking heat through portions of Mexico, Cancun, Cozumel, right around 90 degrees. Here's a nice sight. We've had many of you chime in that the Cayman Islands have been very hot and dry. At least a couple of showers and storms towards West End for today. Georgetown may be close, but it looks like the majority of that has been off towards the east. Okay. So now we need to get into what's going to be happening here over the next several days. Still looking at a large surge of tropical moisture coming in and impacting these areas. Now, I have more concerns about some of these areas than others, and we'll break that down right now. For the ABC Islands, we are close to the origin of where that moisture is developing. So we could still from time to time see some very blustery conditions and some downpours, but more than likely not significant rain there. Jamaica's right on the western edge of where this heavier rain is going to fall based on the model data that I'm looking at. Looks like a bullseye for Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Hispaniola in general is one area that is going to more than likely see some extremely heavy rain. Puerto Rico is going to be in that same conversation. Same thing for the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands. You get a little bit towards the east, towards the Leeward Islands, still could see some areas with some heavier rainfall there. And the Turks and Caicos, also one of the spots I'll be monitoring for the potential for excessive flooding rains. So now you're looking at our model, and we'll take a look at several of them, but I'm going to loop this up over the next 5 days. First of all, everything is still on track from what I mentioned yesterday. We are going to start to see this moisture come off of South America starting tomorrow. It will begin to move up to the north and to the east. We're going to have a trough axis develop here, okay? So again, we are not going to have a surface area of low pressure. We are not going to spin up a tropical disturbance, at least in the Caribbean. There's an opportunity that maybe something spins up in the western Atlantic as it moves away from our area. But this is just an abundant amount of moisture that's going to be coming in. And I hate to say it, but it's for areas that have already had a fair amount of rain. Now, this is the GFS model, and we'll look at a couple of them. Again, all models really pinpoint Hispaniola to get very widespread heavy rain, and Puerto Rico in general comes along for the ride as well. Timing of this is going to be starting late tomorrow, but generally surging in on Wednesday, and then just depending on where you are, could be sticking around for several days, if not even into the weekend, okay? So you can see kind of the broad view. I'm gonna expand it out even a little bit further, and I'm gonna let this roll over the next 5 days, and then we'll kind of get into what I'm thinking island by island, all right? So again, you can see that moisture coming in, and there's some areas that could be stuck with this rain for longer than others. The first thing I want to point out, again, you can see how widespread this rain is. We're talking about from west to east, over 800 miles of very heavy tropical moisture, okay? There's going to be some gusty winds, but we're not wrapping up a core, so that we're not talking about a pinpoint forecast of where the strongest winds are coming. But there will be some breezy, blustery conditions coming along for the ride. Now let's start from west to east. So I'm going to start with my friends in Jamaica at first, okay? You guys are on that western slice of this moisture coming in, all right? The GFS model is a little bit farther off towards the east. So you will catch some rain based on this model, but you wouldn't be in the core of the heaviest rain. I'm going to say this right now. You guys are close enough to the action where we still need to be very vigilant to get some of these downpours. I know that some of the rain will be beneficial, but of course it's if we get too much. At this point in time, I think it would be more passing showers on this western edge. I'll show you the NAM model coming up, and we'll look at the European totals as well, where you could get a little bit more. This is certainly not set in stone how this huge moisture plume plays out. It could be a little bit farther off towards the west. Now, for Hispaniola, there's really no scenario that I see where we don't avoid some very heavy rain. We can start to see that surge in. This is going to be early on Wednesday morning, the 22nd. Still could be a few showers this afternoon and tomorrow as well. But the bulk of this rich tropical moisture comes into play across the island throughout the day Wednesday, throughout the day Thursday. It might try and break apart a bit beginning on Friday, but we could be in for up to at least 48 hours of some very heavy rain inundation here, okay? And all the flooding issues that are out there are a possibility across the island. At this point in time, there's no flood advisories or watches or warnings. I only pass along official information, and as those develop, I will pass it along to you guys. But I want you to get prepared for it's going to be a very wet scenario across the entire island, at least through late Thursday, but more than likely, guys, we're talking about Friday and even into the weekend, okay? And I'll tell you why in just a minute. But again, we'll look at totals, we'll look at everything else. I'm basically just breaking down timing right now so our friends in these areas can really see it. For Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, the timing is about the same, okay? Where we continue to see the really heavy rain move in Wednesday, Thursday, but I think a lot of this in this area is going to be sticking around for Friday and even into the weekend. The reason why is, I'm going to zoom out a little bit more here because I think, let me just tell the story about how this is going to play out. So you see this huge plume of moisture, okay? And I'm going to telestrate this out here. So give me just 1 second to start this off. We're going to have a trough axis develop right about here, okay? So the moisture is surging along it. There is drier air, though, out west. And all of these surface winds are going to be feeding into the eastern side like this. So almost enhancing the rainfall east of that center line. So if I put this into motion from here, you can see that the western edge gets eaten away a little bit with the drier air. So that's why I'm saying Jamaica's right on that cut line. It's going to be much easier for the rain to develop and to stick around east of that surface trough axis, which right now looks to be over Puerto Rico, the U.S. and the British Virgin Islands, and portions of the Leeward Islands. Again, you can clearly see how, as we get into late Friday, east of that line, with the surface winds coming in out of the southeast, it's just a better rich moisture flow compared to our western areas. Obviously, there's a lot to finish here as far as how this is going to play out, but from what I'm seeing, that's what the models are picking up on, that moisture axis and that surge out of the east. Now, again, for Anguilla and St. Bartholomew and Ceiba and Barbuda and Antigua, all of the northern side of the Leeward Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Ceiba, I'll be watching for you guys. Obviously, you're going to get some rain. The question is, does the rich moisture axis go over you to cause any potential flooding issues? That is certainly a possibility, but it's not a guarantee. Again, I think the deepest, richest moisture is just off towards your west. You get to Dominica south and, you know, you guys could use more rain. Martinique and Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All of you could use more showers. We'll see some rain move back in, but again, you can see here that you're going to miss the heaviest of this activity. Now, the ABC Islands, you're near the origin point of where the rain is developing, all this moisture, but it does look like, again, it's slightly farther off towards your west. Here's what I expect for you guys. Downpours from time to time with blustery east winds, all right? And you can clearly see that. You're not going to be stuck in the shield of rain for very long, but as that moisture develops and moves to the north, you'll get some downpours out of this as well. Now we get towards our western zones in areas that have been desperate for rain. And as I've already mentioned, the air is drier out here, and you just don't see a lot more rain developing for places like Cancun and Cozumel and Belize City and Roatan, Nicaragua and Honduras, and the Cayman Islands in general. We are just not in that moisture plume that's going to be moving through the area. For the Bahamas, again, we could still see some rowdy storms, not from that system, but a few more rounds of potent storms are in the forecast. I'm going to switch over to our high resolution model. While I'm doing that, if you guys haven't hit the like button yet, I'd really appreciate it if you do that right now. Would love to hear from you guys in the comments section below. And if for some reason you're still watching and you're not a subscriber to Meteo Mundo, click that subscribe button for me right now. I thoroughly appreciate it. Again, Freeport, Lucaya, Nassau, Central, and even Southeast Bahamas need to get prepared for the opportunity for more storms over the next couple of days. This is how it plays out as we go through the remainder of today. Actually, I'm a little bit too far behind. Where am I here? 5 p.m. Nope, we're good. All right, we're good. So you can see these storms rolling through and another opportunity maybe towards Abaco to get a few more storms and New Providence and Eleuthera. And then look at the storms developed down here in the Southeast Bahamas. Kind of a very unstable atmosphere right now. More storms tomorrow over Nassau and Andros and Eleuthera. Get ready, guys. And just like the last couple of days, these storms could be very potent. A lot of lightning and some hail will be contained within some of those storms. So now let's break down the rain chance in your area. Jamaica, 20% chance of rain today, slightly better Tuesday, Wednesday at 50. Okay, and we're going to look at some of the other models coming up. But again, you are just not guaranteed to be in that area that is going to get consistent heavy rain. The Bahamas, I think it's about a 50% chance each afternoon through Wednesday. Again, intense storms where they develop. Turks and Caicos, low chance through Tuesday, and then up to a 50% chance on Wednesday. And the Turks and Caicos is one of those areas too where, depending on how that moisture plays out, they may dry out a little bit quicker or they may stay wet a little bit longer as well. Again, bullseye for the Dominican Republic and Haiti. Rain chance exceptionally high Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at least. Not much rain for the Cayman Islands and Belize, and I think we're basically dry in Cancun and Cozumel. For Puerto Rico, scattered showers in the afternoon the next couple of days, even some evening rain as well. And then again, the wet weather moves in during the day on Wednesday. It plays out the same scenario for the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Antigua, Barbuda, slightly again, a little bit lower chance, but overall certainly improving. Dominica will get up to a 40% chance for rain on Wednesday. You get Barbados south, and it's still struggling to get any consistent rain. Passing showers are certainly possible, and we'll start to see again that rain chance improve in the ABC Islands as well. Okay, back over to our model. So we looked at the GFS model. I am going to show you the NAM model right now, and then we'll take a look at the European model and the rainfall totals coming out of that. So you're looking at the NAM. It's going to take just a second to completely load up. I've already obviously looked at it. This is going to be a lot sloppier system with the NAM. It's not as concentrated, so it does pull in a little bit more moisture off towards the west, maybe even clipping as far west as the Cayman Islands, but it does at least drive in a few more showers over Jamaica. But still the bullseye is over Hispaniola, portions of Puerto Rico, and you can almost see that surface wind getting ingested into the east side of this trough here, guys, which is why it's going to feed all of that moisture. So again, this area could be in store for some very heavy rain, a little bit more rain for the Turks and Caicos out of this model as well. And then all of that pulls up north and east. But again, even as this system trails away and moves farther north, those surface winds are still going to provide ample moisture for additional showers over the weekend in the areas that I just mentioned. Let me get back over to the GFS, and I want to take out this model a little bit deeper in time. Then we're going to look at the winds, and then we're going to look at the European model rain totals, and then what the European model is trying to cook up for later next week as well, because this is not going to be the only surge of this tropical moisture down here coming off of South America and the Southwest Caribbean in general. So as we get into the weekend, again, if we're going to get a surface low, more than likely it's going to develop here. And again, just playing this out over the next 7 days, you can see that track through. And then we might see a very broad spin up before this gets sucked into a mid-latitude cyclone and becomes a hybrid system of some kind pretty quickly. So the Hurricane Center is not mentioning any tropical formation over the next 7 days. I don't really see that as well. Certainly, I do not see a closed low in the Caribbean. If we were to get something, it would be north and east of the Turks and Caicos and east of the Bahamas as it gets closer to Bermuda. Again, the GFS model is a little bit more aggressive in that, but even then it would be a pretty weak system. But I do want you to note that how widespread, how broad are very blustery winds are going to be. They're not going to be 40, 50 miles an hour, but 20, 30 mile an hour winds from the ABC Islands all the way up through a lot of the Great Antilles. So just going to be a very windy, extremely wet forecast to really keep an eye on here as far as, you know, the amount of rain, but also the opportunity again for some flash flooding. Okay, so now we're going to look at the GFS model total precipitation, all right? And again, we talked about how the GFS model is slightly drier farther off towards the west. So we don't paint on a lot of rain over Jamaica. I do believe we'll get more than that in Kingston. Certainly the farther west you go across the island, the opportunity for a little bit lower rain, but even just south of the island, we have a little bullseye. So it shows you that there's ample moisture there. But then you get over Hispaniola and look at some of the rainfall totals offshore, by the way, but what could be moving in. And you're looking at, you know, 3, 4 inches of rain. And by the way, this is just through basically Friday night. There could be more rain certainly on the board for later on, but I didn't want to go too far out in time here. I wanted to talk about kind of what the initial surge of some of that rain is going to be. There will be heavier pockets than this, but you can see how that plays out, and you can see how widespread these several inch rainfall totals are going to be across the islands. If we get enough of this in a quick enough amount of time, that's going to be some issues as well. So a few inches of rain is in the forecast. I certainly think that in some ways, the GFS model might even be underdoing it a bit. It should be carrying a little bit more of this moisture up over the island. You notice it kind of then re-energizes it out here, but certainly the opportunity for several inches of rain. Again, even right now, I don't want to get into a lot of specifics. The one thing about it, though, is because this is going to be several hundred miles wide, there's an opportunity for a broad area to get about the same amount of rain within, you know, a couple of inches. And by the way, for those on the metric system, it's actually pretty simple. 1 inch is 25 millimeters of rain, okay? So if we're looking at 4 inches of rain, that's 100 millimeters. So hopefully that one's pretty easy for you there. And again, scattered showers through the Lesser Antilles, and it does begin to dry out again into the Windward Islands. As I've mentioned, the ABC Islands are kind of in this moisture surge, so the opportunity for some decent rainfall totals there, at least a few inches of rain in a couple of spots. And again, our northwest areas just generally remain dry. Still could be some storms along the Pacific coast of Central America, but Cancun is dry, Belize City generally dry. And again, this is really hit or miss in the Northwest Bahamas. It's really not about the amount of rain they could see. It's about the intensity of the storms that could come through over the next several days as well. So again, pretty clear to see, guys, that moisture plume coming in. Let's take a look at the vorticity, and this is going to be the spin in the atmosphere. I showed you this yesterday. So again, what I'm looking at here is what kind of twist do we really get out of this? And again, this is not at the surface, okay? Nothing is showing any surface area of low pressure, but one thing is, in some ways, it doesn't even matter because I'm not looking for our first name tropical system out of this, but vorticity and spin can amplify the rain and the moisture coming in. And we can see that here moving through. Now it looks like we might have lost a day there the last couple of days, but again, very clear to see that spin, that development. You can see it pick up right over the island and move to the north and to the east. All the things I'm showing you, I look at very closely as I come up with the forecast. Now, European model, rainfall total time, all right? This is gonna loop once and then it's gonna pause. Now, this is a little bit farther out in time, okay? But there's not a ton of rain behind that initial surge. So again, bottom of your screen, you can see the legend there. We're getting about 4 to 6 inches of rain in a lot of the areas that I just mentioned. And again, even the eastern side of Jamaica would be included in that on the European model. Certainly Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, portions of the U.S. Virgin Islands and the Turks and Caicos. So 4 to 6 inches of rain, 100 to 150 millimeters of rain. And again, a lot of that coming between Wednesday and Sunday. But again, that may not be the only player in town as we get into next week. This time next week, we might be looking at the Southwest Caribbean for signs of potential tropical development. And it is the European model that says there's at least the chance of a tropical depression forming here. Right now, that chance looks to be around 30 to 40%. The GFS model doesn't show anything, but I wanted to give you guys that update from yesterday that this is the newest run. It looks about the same as yesterday, but again, another surge, if nothing else, of tropical moisture coming back into play, and this is where it's going to develop. Now, does this become tropical, or is it another surge of moisture for more heavy rain for other areas? Yet to be seen, but get prepared for us to be talking more about that coming up next week. Friends, you can find us through all of social media here. We're not just on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. Send me a picture or video, mymeteomundo@gmail.com. I thank you so much. Thank you so much for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing. Again, let me hear from you. Drop it in the comments section below if you have a question about the forecast, or just let me know what the weather has been like. You know, I'll keep you updated. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I will see you tomorrow right here at Meteo Mundo.